You ever feel like your life's finally coming together only to find out it's all built on a lie? I did. And let me tell you, that lie? It shattered everything. 5 years ago, I thought I had it all, a solid relationship, my best friend as my roommate, a routine that actually made sense for once. I was planning real things with my girl, talking about moving in, maybe even a ring down the line. Then one night, just an ordinary night, I opened the door and walked straight into hell. My girlfriend, in bed with my best friend. Yeah. Let that sink in. Now, fast forward to 5 years later, I'm engaged to someone else, happy, healing. And right before my wedding, a message pops up out of nowhere and flips everything upside down. Again. Let me take you back to where it all started. And be honest, if you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you're new here, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on that bell so you don't miss the rest of this story. Trust me, it gets wild. Back then, I was 24. Still figuring things out, but I thought I had a pretty good setup. I shared a 2-bedroom apartment with Dakari Ventura, my best friend since middle school. Ride or die type of guy. We'd seen each other through breakups, bad grades, busted cars, all of it. And I was dating Macy Acevedo, my high school sweetheart. We'd been on and off for a while, but something about her felt like home. At least, it used to. At first, it was small stuff. Macy and Dakari had always gotten along. They jokes a lot, but then the jokes started sounding like inside jokes. Stuff I wasn't part of. I'd walk in and they'd go quiet. Or she'd laugh a little too hard at some dumb story he was telling. I brushed it off, this was my boy. I didn't think I needed to worry. I was wrong. Then it got weirder. Macy started staying late to study at our place, but not with me. She'd be in Dakari's room, watching movies on his big screen TV. I'd knock and she'd say, "We're just talking." I didn't want to be that guy, the jealous boyfriend. So I let it slide. Then one day, I noticed she changed the password on her phone. No heads up. Just locked. I asked why, and she said something like, "Oh, my sister borrowed it and changed it for fun." It sounded like BS, but I let it go. Looking back, that was the moment I started lying to myself. But the night everything snapped, man, I'll never forget it. I was working a late shift and the system went down, so they let me leave early. I didn't even text Macy or Dakari. Just headed home, thinking I'd surprise them with takeout. I still remember the smell of the food, hot, greasy wings, when I opened the door and stepped into the living room. Their doors were both closed. But I could hear her. Macy. Laughing. Not just regular laughing, that kind of laugh. You know the one. I dropped the bag and walked straight to Dakari's room. I didn't knock. I just opened the door. And there they were. My girl. My best friend. Under the sheets. She screamed. Dakari sat up like a deer in headlights. I swear, for a second, the whole room stopped breathing. Including me. My heart wasn't beating. My legs went numb. I felt like I was falling without actually moving. She started saying, "Kanan, it's not what you think." And he actually had the nerve to look me in the eye and say, "Bro, let me explain." Explain? I didn't need an explanation. I saw everything I needed to see. In that moment, I didn't just lose my girlfriend, I lost my brother. After that night, I didn't pack a bag. I didn't grab a jacket. I just left. My shoes weren't even on the right. I just remember stumbling out into the cold, like my body didn't know what to do. My mind was blank, but my heart was burning. And not the poetic kind of burn. The kind that makes you want to scream into the dark and hope nobody hears it. I walked until my legs gave out and crashed at this all-night diner a few blocks away. I must have looked like hell because the server just handed me water and said, "Rough night?" I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because if I didn't laugh, I was gonna break. That night, I disappeared. I deleted everything: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat. Gone. Changed my number. No goodbye text. No we need to talk. Just silence. Because I didn't want closure. I wanted distance. I wanted out of my own life. One person did try to find me, Zora Howe. She was this real one, someone who had always been a neutral ground between Macy, Dakari, and me. You know that one friend who doesn't play sides? That was Zora. She messaged me from 3 different numbers. Emailed me. Even left a voicemail once, voice cracking, saying, "Kanan. I don't know what happened, but I'm here. Please don't shut the world out because of whatever it was." I stared at that message for a long time. But I didn't respond. I couldn't. Because in my head, everyone was suspect now. Even the good ones. And trusting people? That wasn't in me anymore. So I went back to where I never thought I'd end up again, my brother Alaric's house. He's the kind of older brother who doesn't say much, but you always know where he stands. When I showed up on his doorstep at 1 a.m. with a dead phone and puffy eyes, he didn't ask a single question. He just opened the door and said, "Do you want the couch or the floor?" I took the couch. Slept in the same hoodie for 3 weeks straight. Didn't eat much. Didn't talk much. Just lay there, scrolling through a dark screen and reliving that night on a loop. I'd wake up sweating. Heart pounding. Sometimes with her name in my mouth like a curse I couldn't spit out. A few weeks in, she found a way through. "Macy." She sent one message from a random number. "I didn't mean to hurt you." 7 words. That's all she had. No apology. No explanation. Just a soft little lie wrapped in a sorry-looking bow. And you know what? I stared at it. For a long time. My thumb hovered over the screen, thinking, should I reply? Should I curse her out? Demand answers? But then I remembered something Alaric once said. When someone shows you who they are, don't write a sequel. Let the story end. So I blocked the number. No reply. No drama. Just silence. But even after cutting Macy off, the person who haunted me most wasn't her. It was Dakari. You don't just lose your best friend overnight. That kind of pain lingers. I kept thinking about all the firsts we had together. First time skipping class. First time driving. First heartbreak. How we used to talk about being best men at each other's weddings. And now, he was the reason I could barely sleep. Barely eat. He stole the one person I trusted most. And in that moment, it felt like he stole who I was, too. I went through old pictures, old texts, old videos. I even found a voice memo of us rapping in the car, laughing like idiots. And it hurt more than anything. Because the person I saw in those memories was dead. Not him. Me. I wish I could say I snapped out of it quickly, that I found peace and moved on. But grief doesn't move in a straight line. It lingers. It rewrites everything you thought was true. And the worst part? It makes you question if you were ever worth loyalty in the first place. How I went from broken on a couch to finding a woman who taught me how to live again. They say time heals all wounds. Whoever said that clearly never had to rebuild themselves from scratch. 2 years. That's how long it took before I even felt remotely human again. I'm not gonna lie to you, year 1 was survival mode. Wake up. Stare at the ceiling. Check if breathing still hurts. It usually did. But sometime in year 2, something shifted. I'd been avoiding mirrors, music, even my own voice for so long, but one morning, I caught a glimpse of myself and didn't look away. I looked tired. But alive. And I knew that was a start. Alaric, my brother, had been bugging me for months to talk to someone. Not him. Not a friend. A real therapist. At first, I brushed him off. But one day, I walked into his kitchen and found a sticky note on the fridge with nothing but a number in the words. You don't have to be okay to start getting better. That hit was different. So I called. Her name was Macy Tucker, yeah, I know, ironic. Another Macy. But this one didn't ruin me. She helped rebuild me. In that room, I talked about things I never thought I'd say out loud. About betrayal. About shame. About how I hated the person who let it all happen, and how that person was me. And slowly, piece by piece, I started to feel lighter. During that time, I also landed a job at a tech startup. Nothing glamorous, just customer success. But it gave me structure. A reason to get up in the morning. And most of all, it gave me a space where nobody knew what I'd been through. I wasn't the guy who got cheated on. I was just Kanan. That's where I met Ariella Knox. She was a recruiter, sharp, confident, the kind of woman who knew how to walk into a room and own it without saying a word. I remember the first time we talked, she made a joke about the broken coffee machine in the break room, and I actually laughed like a real, full laugh. I didn't even recognize the sound coming out of me. That's when I realized, it had been months since I laughed without faking it. We started off casually. A few lunches. Coffee runs. I kept it friendly, scared to let anything real happen. But Ariella, she didn't push. She didn't pry. She just showed up. Consistently. Quietly. She'd text me good luck before presentations. She remembered how I took my coffee. She didn't flinch when I told her I'd been hurt bad before. And the first time I told her about Macy and Dakari? She didn't say screw them. She didn't go on a rant. She just nodded and said, that says everything about them, and nothing about you. I think that was the moment I started falling. With Ariella, I wasn't performing. I wasn't trying to be better. I just was. And that was enough. She taught me how to be soft again. How to sit still and not brace for impact. How to dream again about road trips, a home, a future. One Sunday afternoon, we sat in the park watching dogs run in chaotic circles, and she turned to me and said, what do you want out of life, really? And for the first time in years, I didn't say I don't know. I said, peace. And maybe, someone to build something real with. She just smiled. No expectations. No fear. A year later, I bought a ring. Nothing flashy. Just simple, timeless, like her. I took her back to that same park, the same bench, the same time of day. We were eating overpriced street tacos and watching the sky turn gold. I stood up, wiped salsa off my hands, and said, you're the safest place I've ever known. I don't know how to do everything right, but I want to do this with you. She blinked at me, then laughed. You're proposing with taco breath? Yeah, I said. That's how you know it's real. She said yes. For the first time in a long time. I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I wasn't wondering what was coming next. I felt full. Whole. Like my past had finally been buried for good. But I should have known better. Because just when you think the book is closed, sometimes the past opens it for you. If you believe in second chances and real love, drop a hammer and wrench in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And if you're new here, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell. The next chapter? It gets real. There's this thing that happens when life gets too good. You start waiting for the crash. You don't want it. You try to believe in peace, in growth, in healing, but there's this little voice in the back of your mind whispering, this won't last. I just posted a picture of me and Ariella on Instagram. Nothing fancy, just us sitting on a rooftop, smiling like we'd made it out of something dark. Because we had. The caption? Simple. Engaged to my piece. It got a couple hundred likes. old college friends, co-workers. Even my therapist left a little emoji under it. I didn't think twice about it. Until a week later, when a message popped up from a username I didn't recognize. It was a burner account. No posts. No followers. Just a black profile picture in the name. Truthfinder02. At first, I laughed. Sounded like a fake psychic or someone trying to sell crypto. But the message? I know something about Macy. You deserve to know before your wedding. I stared at that text for a long time. Thought about deleting it. Blocking the account. I mean, I hadn't spoken to Macy in years. Whatever mess she was in, it wasn't my problem anymore. But then another message came through. A photo. A little boy no more than 4 or 5 standing in front of a birthday cake with a crooked smile. Dark eyes. Same dimple on the left cheek. Same jawline I see in the mirror every morning. He looked like me. And just like that, the room spun. The next text read. His name is Valentine. She had him not long after you left. But Dakari's not the father. I sat on the edge of the bed, phone in my hand, stomach in my throat. I couldn't breathe. This had to be a sick joke. Some weirdo messing with me. Maybe a spam bot scraping names off old photos. Maybe. But the kid's face. You can't fake that kind of resemblance. Not with AI. Not with filters. That boy looked like mine. Ariella walked in while I was still staring at the screen. You good? She asked, carrying 2 mugs of tea like she always did before bed. I blinked and fumbled to lock the phone. Yeah, I'm fine. She paused. Didn't sit. Just looked at me. You sure? Because your face is saying something else entirely. I tried to shake it off. Just a random troll. You know how the internet is. She didn't buy it. Ariella's smart. She's always been able to read me even when I couldn't read myself. Kanan, she said, soft but firm. If something's up, I need you to be real with me. Especially now. I hesitated. I didn't want to ruin the night. Didn't want to drop a nuclear bomb on the life we were building. But hiding it would have been worse. So I handed her the phone. Let her read the messages. See the picture. She sat down slowly. No dramatic gasp. No shouting. Just silence. Then she passed the phone back and said, Do you think it's true? I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because what if it was? She stood up and went to the window. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. But I could see her mind racing. The way her hands fidgeted, the way her jaw tensed. Finally, she turned around. Okay, she said. So what's the plan? That caught me off guard. You're not angry? She let out a breath. Kanan, you didn't do anything wrong. But if this is real, it's going to change things. And we need to face that together. That's when I knew this woman loved me. Not just for who I was, but for the man I was still becoming. But even with her beside me, I felt the old weight coming back. The past wasn't done with me. It had just sent me a photo of my possible son. There's something heavy about not knowing. You'd think the worst part would be the truth itself, but no. It's waiting. The limbo. The what-ifs. That photo of the kid haunted me. Even with Ariella beside me, even with her calm and her strength, my mind wouldn't rest. It looped through every possibility, every lie, every version of reality that could be waiting on the other side. I knew I needed answers. Maybe not. Not feelings. Facts. So the next morning, I did what I never thought I'd do again. I opened the box I swore I'd never touch. It was full of old documents, files, some receipts from moving out 5 years ago, and buried beneath it, the business card of a lawyer I'd once met through Alaric. Ivan Webb. He specialized in family law, but more than that, he had this way of making chaos sound like strategy. I remembered thinking, if I ever get pulled into some mess, this is the guy I'd want watching my back. Turns out, I was right. I emailed him that afternoon and got a response within an hour. When we spoke on the phone, I laid everything out: the burner account, the photo, the claim about the kid, the resemblance, and the silent grenade it had dropped in my life. Ivan didn't flinch. "We'll handle this professionally," he said. "We'll request a formal statement and a paternity test. No contact until then. You don't need to chase rumors. Let's deal with proof." I agreed. It was the only thing keeping me sane. A week later, I got the email. Subject line, from Macy Acevedo. I didn't want to open it. My fingers hovered over the trackpad like it might explode. But I clicked. It was short. Dry. Almost businesslike. I got pregnant a few weeks after everything ended. Dakari and I assumed he was the father. But recently, we've learned he's sterile. I didn't come forward because I wasn't sure. If you want to confirm, I'll cooperate. I'm sorry. That last line, "I'm sorry," read more like a formality than anything else. But still, it was real. She was confirming what I'd been afraid to believe. As Ivan arranged the paternity test, I couldn't stop the flashbacks. That night opening the door. Her face, half guilt, half shock. Dakari's stupid, defensive posture, like he was the one being wronged. And now, that betrayal might have created a life. A child. A son. And they kept that from me. For 5 years. I started spiraling again. What if he'd called someone else dad? What if he thought Dakari was his father? What if I was too late? I'd stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m. wondering what he liked. If he had allergies. If he smiled like me when he was nervous. Ariella held me through those nights. She never pushed. Never pried. Just whispered, "Whatever comes, we'll handle it. Together." And I believed her. But still, I was terrified. The day the results were ready, Ivan called me into his office. No text. No email. Just a quiet, "Come in." I sat in that chair like a man waiting for sentencing. He didn't make eye contact at first. Just opened a folder, pulled out a sheet, and slid it across the desk. I didn't read the whole thing. Just one line. The one that mattered. Paternity probability, 99.98%. I froze. I didn't cry. I didn't speak. I just stopped. Everything around me went silent. Like the world paused to make room for this one moment. I was a father. 5 years too late. Ivan cleared his throat. "What do you want to do next?" I looked at the paper again. My name. The child's name. And I whispered, almost to myself, "I want to know him." But deep down, I also knew Dakari wasn't going to make that easy. If this hit you in the gut the way it hit me, drop a DNA emoji in the comments. Like the video. Share it. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on that bell, because what comes next? That's where the real fight begins. And the moment I realized, they never planned to let. We met in a quiet corner of a cafe. She was already sitting there, sipping something iced, acting like we were two old friends catching up. I sat down, leaned in, and said, "Why now, Macy? Why didn't you tell me 5 years ago?" She looked up slowly, her voice soft, like she was playing a role she rehearsed in her head 100 times. "We thought we were protecting you, Kanan." Protecting me? I wanted to laugh. But I didn't. I just stared. From what? Being a father? Knowing my own child existed? She sighed like she was the victim here. We weren't sure. We assumed he was Dakari's. He was there. He stepped up. Yeah, I said, and he also helped destroy the life I had. Now he's keeping my son from me? That's when her tone shifted. The mask cracked. He's just scared, okay? This came out of nowhere. You can't just barge in and take over like none of this happened. I clenched my fists under the table. I'm not trying to take over. I'm trying to be there. I'm not going to be a stranger who sends checks and stays silent. She didn't answer. But her eyes said everything. They never planned to let me in. Later that night, I got a voice note. Unsolicited. From Dakari. I didn't want to open it. But curiosity got the best of me. I hit play. Kanan. I'm only gonna say this once. Stay away. He's my son. I've been there since day one. You walking in now just messes everything up. Let it go, man. Just let it go. Let it go? This man, who betrayed me, who lied to my face, who raised my child like he was doing me a favor, was now threatened by the truth. I sent the voice note to Ivan. We're not backing down, I said. If I'm not his father to his face, I won't be his father on their terms. Ivan nodded. Then we play the long game. But you better be ready. This won't be easy. And it wasn't. Because the next move came fast. Macy's lawyer reached out, suddenly very formal. They wanted child support. But they weren't offering shared custody. Not even supervised visitation. Just money. They wanted me to bankroll the lie they'd been living in. And stay invisible. Ivan drafted a response. But I told him to stop. I'll say it myself, I told him. I called Macy directly. She answered, surprised. Probably thought I was going to cave. But I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I spoke slowly, clearly. If I'm going to be his father, I will be his father in every sense. Not just legally. Not just financially. Emotionally. Physically. Present. Or not at all. Silence. Then she said. You're just trying to tear this family apart. I bit my tongue, hard. No. You and Dakari did that 5 years ago. I'm trying to build something from the pieces you left behind. I hung up. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't just fighting for my rights. I was fighting for my son's identity. If you've ever had to fight for something they tried to keep from you, drop a brick in the comments. Let me know I'm not alone. And if you're new here, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Because what's coming next? It's the battle that tested every piece of me. They finally gave in. After weeks of back and forths, tense calls, passive-aggressive emails, and more lawyer lingo than I ever wanted to hear in my life, they agreed to one supervised visit. 1 hour. In a public place. No solo time. No questions about the past. But still 1 hour with my son. It was the most generous restriction I'd ever been given. We picked the park across town. Neutral ground. A playground with trees that looked like they'd seen too much. A few benches. Some old swings. A splash of fall color starts to touch the edges of the leaves. I got there early. Too early. Sat in my car, hands sweating, heart pounding like I was about to walk into a job interview I hadn't prepared for. What do you say to someone who has your eyes, but don't know your name? I didn't bring toys. Or candy. Or some elaborate plan. I just bought it myself. And hope. When I saw him walk up holding Macy's hand, everything inside me stopped. Valentine Bird. My son. He had this slow, cautious walk. Not scared, just observant. Like he was reading the world before stepping into it. His hair curled at the ends like mine did when I was his age. Same nose. Same ears. Same dimple on the left. He looked up at me once, quick, then looked away. Macy gave a stiff nod, said something about playgrounds that way, and walked him toward the sandbox. I followed. At first, he didn't say much. He sat in the sand, scooping little piles, not even glancing at me. I sat next to him, a few feet away, trying not to crowd him. Trying not to cry. Do you like dinosaurs? I asked softly. He nodded. I used to think T-Rexes had secret lives when no one was watching. Like, they had dinosaur jobs. He cracked a tiny smile. Still didn't look at me. But then, he handed me a stick. That was it. That was his peace offering. His little way of saying, okay. You're not so bad. We started drawing in the sand. He told me about his favorite cartoon. Showed me how fast he could spin on the jungle gym. And then, out of nowhere, he pulled out a folded piece of paper from his little coat pocket. I made this, he said. It was a drawing. 2 stick figures. One taller, one smaller. Both with the same smile. Same dimple. Above it, in crooked letters. Me and Daddy. I looked at it for a long time. Did your mom help you with this? I asked. He shook his head. I dreamed it, he said. You came to my school and picked me up. I smiled. And swallowed hard. Because I wasn't gonna cry in front of him. I wasn't gonna be the broken man. But inside? I was wrecked. Across the park, Ariella sat on a bench. Watching everything. Her arms folded tight, but her face, calm. Supportive. I'm a little nervous. When our eyes met, she nodded. And I knew this moment wasn't just changing me. It was changing us. I looked at my son. At the little boy I didn't know I had. At the years I'd lost. At the time I could still give. I missed 5 years of his life, but I won't miss another minute. As the hour ended and Macy came to take him back, Valentine turned to me and said, "Can I draw with you again sometime?" I smiled. Every time I see you. And just like that, we had a beginning. If that moved you even a little, drop a child in the comments. This is the part where healing starts for him and for me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're still with me. The final act is next. We kept planning the wedding. But now, everything felt different. Not in a bad way. Just bigger. Deeper. More real. Ariella and I sat at the dining table one night with invitation samples spread out like cards in a tarot reading. We laughed about fonts, argued about centerpieces, but behind every laugh was something more sacred. We weren't just building a wedding. We were building a life. One that included Valentine. I started seeing him more regularly. Short, supervised visits at first, but over time, the walls softened. Macy stopped micromanaging the meetups. Dakari, well, he didn't show his face anymore. Maybe he realized the fight wasn't about him. Or maybe, he just ran out of ways to spin the narrative. Either way, they backed off. Not with grace. Not with a formal apology. But with something better, legal acknowledgement. They stopped fighting me in court. Signed the new agreement. Visitation became official. Clear. Unrestricted. I wasn't just the father on paper anymore. I was the father in his life. Ariella came with me to one of our park visits. Valentine ran to her like he already knew her heart. They played tag while I sat back and watched, and I couldn't help but feel like I was watching the very thing I thought I'd lost forever. A family. And yeah, there's still wounds. Valentine still calls Dakari dad sometimes. And that stings. But I don't correct him. I just stay consistent. Present. Open. Because love doesn't compete. It remains. One night, Ariella asked me if I'd thought about the future. Like, really thought about it. School drop-offs. Weekend science projects. Soccer games. I told her the truth. I think about it every single day. Because I do. And not just the small things. I think about standing at the altar with her Valentine right there with us. Maybe he'll carry the rings. Maybe he'll walk with me. Maybe someday he'll know the whole story. Not to choose sides. Not to judge. But to understand what love looks like even when it starts in pain. Some truths? They break you. Split you down the middle and leave you gasping for air. But others? They build you. They force you to rise. To become more than who you were. I lost a lot. But I gained something I never saw coming. The chance to be a father. To love a child I didn't even know I had. To start again with someone who never gave up on me. To become the man I needed to be. And no matter how this story started, I get to write the ending. If you stayed with me through this emotional roller coaster, thank you. Drop a clapperboard in the comments if you believe in second chances. If you believe truth has power. If you've ever had to fight for your place in someone's life. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel because these stories? They're not just stories. They're reminders. That healing is possible. That love can survive the wreckage. And that sometimes, the family you never expected becomes the one that saves you. And hey, share this with someone who needs that reminder. Because no matter what your past looks like, you're still allowed to build something beautiful.